All right, just in time for 4th of July weekend, we are talking sunscreens. And why are we talking sunscreens? Well, because there's a lot of confusion around what sunscreens are safest and why. Back in 2021, FDA reclassified most of the approved sunscreen ingredients. And here in the United States, or before 2021, there were 16 approved sunscreen ingredients. And what FDA reclassified in 2021, what they found was that two sunscreen ingredients are no longer GRAS. And what this means is GRAS is an acronym GRASE. It stands for Generally Regarded as Safe and Effective. So FDA removed the GRAS status from two sunscreens. So this left 14. And then for 12 of the 14 remaining sunscreens, FDA said that manufacturers have to demonstrate safety before they're allowed to sell sunscreens containing those ingredients. Now, it's really important to know that this legislation hasn't actually rolled out yet. So it's something that FDA found. It's not something they're enforcing yet. It's not, part of the regulations yet for sunscreens that are on the shelves. So, what does all this mean? This is actually the topic of conversation for today. Now, the way that it's broken down is these 16 sunscreen ingredients. 14 of these 16 are chemical sunscreens. And the way that a chemical sunscreen works as compared with the other two sunscreens um, is that chemical sunscreens are designed to sit on the surface of your skin. And when UV rays hit that chemical, the chemical reacts with the UV ray and it forms heat, free radicals, in addition to, the other breakdown products of the sunscreen ingredient itself. Now, when you hear heat and free radicals, these both sound really bad because our goal is to avoid free radical generation within our body, and we don't want it on in our skin either, right? Well, this is the deal with sunscreen ingredients. They're supposed to sit on the surface of your skin. And this is the piece of it that I don't know, I struggle with so much because with skincare, yeah. Anyways, they're supposed to sit on the surface of your skin. With skincare, so often, we're thinking of the stuff that we're putting on our skin in our skincare regimens as soaking into our skin, and this is why it's benefiting our skin so much. So it's kind of weird to think of sunscreens as being just something that sit on the surface of your skin. Like, why wouldn't they behave in the same way that any other thing that you put on the surface of your skin does, where your skin absorbs it? Well, that's the problem. Therein lies the problem. What happened is, um, what happened is these sunscreen ingredients are being absorbed through your skin and actually making their way into your bloodstream at levels far higher than what the FDA allows. And the way the FDA knows this is because FDA took a look at the body of scientific literature that has been published since about, roughly half of these sunscreen ingredients were approved back in 1978. There were about 6 to 7 of these of this class of sunscreen ingredients that, you know, of these 16 sunscreen ingredients were approved back in 1978. And there have been a lot of studies since then demonstrating that these sunscreen ingredients are absorbed into your body at rates higher than what's allowed by the FDA. Now, when were the other sunscreen ingredients approved? Well, it varies. There were quite a few approved in the late 90s. There were a few added in the early 2000s to that list of the 16 approved sunscreen ingredients. And even for those, like we're thinking early 2000s, that's been 20 years. So even for those, there's a substantial body of literature at this point, a substantial body of scientific studies that demonstrate that those ingredients are also being absorbed through your skin and making their way into your bloodstream where they're circulating. Now, Why is this a problem? Well, actually, sorry, before we move on from there, let me just round out this conversation. And not only did FDA look at the body of scientific literature that's available, FDA conducted their own studies. Yes, that's something FDA is fully within their rights to do, and within the grounds of the organization to do. They conducted their own studies on several of these chemical sunscreen ingredients. Avobenzone itself was one of uh, a very intense scrutiny study. The results of that were published in 2019, where FDA evaluated 4 different products or 4 different formulations containing avobenzone. So they evaluated a lotion, and then they evaluated 3 different types of sprays. One of those sprays was an aerosol spray, the other 2 weren't. And they looked at, you know, how much of that was making its way from the surface of your skin into your bloodstream. And what they found is that regardless of the formulation, avobenzone was making its way from the surface of your skin, being absorbed systemically into your body and winding up in your bloodstream at levels higher than what the FDA allows for sunscreen ingredients. Prior to that study, FDA conducted another study where they looked at 6 different sunscreen ingredients, and that one, and here I am going to check my notes, so sit tight and hang with me. In that particular study, it was avobenzone, oxybenzone, octocrylene, homosalate, octisalate, and octinoxate. So that is 6, right? Yep, 6. And what it found was that every single one of those was systemically absorbed through your skin into your bloodstream at levels higher than the FDA allows. Now, why does FDA set a limit on what's allowed to wind up in your bloodstream? Well, it's because quite a few of these chemical sunscreens are endocrine disrupting. And even the ones that are not endocrine disrupting have health effects. And these are demonstrated health effects in the literature. So, with that, the question is, how are you supposed? Oh, wait. Let let's just there's I've heard talk, lots of chatter this season about is it okay to layer your sunscreen ingredients or layer your different sunscreens? And if those sunscreens contain chemical sunscreen ingredients, the answer is no. Because what are you doing when you layer sunscreen ingredients, different sunscreens? Well, first of all, you are increasing the concentration of these sunscreen ingredients on the surface of your skin, which increases the rate of absorption and how much of these are absorbed into your skin, like through your skin into your bloodstream. And second, when you layer them, what FDA has found is that there is a difference in absorption rates based on the formula itself. So the sprays that FDA looked at in that one study on avobenzone in particular, the sprays resulted in a lower level of avobenzone in the bloodstream at the time that they were looking at it, compared with the lotion. So if you were to use a lotion and a spray in combo, then you're increasing the rate of absorption of all of those. And keep in mind, that was just those 4 particular sunscreen products that FDA was looking at in that study. They didn't do, that was not a study that included the exhaustive expanse of sunscreen products that are on the market. And please keep in mind that even with the sprays in that study, and even if they were resulted in a lower level of avobenzone in the bloodstream, the other key takeaway is it was still above what's allowable by FDA. So, now that we've kind of hashed that out, the question is, how are you supposed to safely protect your skin from sun exposure? Well, there are 2 sunscreen ingredients that are still regarded as that are still regarded as GRAS, so generally regarded as safe and effective by FDA. And these are zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. And what makes these particular sunscreen ingredients different from all of the other ones that were reclassified by FDA is that these are both physical sunscreens. And what this means is that zinc oxide and titanium dioxide don't dissolve in water. They don't really dissolve in oil. They stay as these are minerals. They're also known as sunblocks. They're finely ground minerals. So just think of your mineral makeup, for instance. That's composed typically of iron oxides, zinc oxides, mica, or zinc oxides, titanium dioxide, mica, and maybe some additional coloring agents. So zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, when you put it like in a cream or in a sunscreen formula, whether this is a spray, whether it's a lotion, whether it's a cream, whether it's like a butter or a paste or the other thing, like the surfers use, one of those sticks, like a balm stick, a sun balm stick, whatever you put it in, they stay as individual particles and they don't dissolve. So it's a suspension rather than a solution. Yes, and this is geek speak. What this does, when you apply that to your skin, then these particles sit on the surface of your skin because they're actually particles. When the UV ray hits them, rather than reacting, which I mean, we've gone there before. This is elementary level of how physical sunscreen works. Rather than reacting with the UV ray itself, what happens in theory is that the zinc oxide or the titanium dioxide acts as a mirror and it allows that UV ray to hit it and bounce back off. Now, what happens in practicality is that titanium dioxide specifically, I cannot speak to zinc oxide because I have not researched enough the band gap energy of zinc oxide. What happens with titanium dioxide specifically is that there is a chemical reaction that occurs when UV rays hit titanium dioxide particles. And the reason I know this is because I have seen this in the laboratory. So when you throw some titanium dioxide powder into a solution of whatever it is, so into some kind of liquid, and you start to stir it, and so you've created this suspension of titanium dioxide powder floating around in the liquid, and then you shine UV light at it. What actually happens is a reaction between the titanium dioxide particle and the UV light that generates heat and free radicals. And this is why I do not wear makeup. And this is also why I highly encourage you to choose non-nano, non-micronized sunscreens containing only zinc oxide and or titanium dioxide, because you do not want those particles getting through the outer layers of your skin. And there is great debate around the particle size. And at this point, there's a pretty wide consensus that as long as the particle size is not micronized or not nano-sized, that it will not penetrate your skin or will not be absorbed through your skin. So it is really, really important to choose non-nano, non-micronized titanium dioxide and or zinc oxide sunscreens, sunblocks, physical sunscreens, whatever you want to call them, when you're using sunscreen. And here's where I'm also going to throw out, sunscreens are a market. And so the real question is, why did the use of sunscreens even come about? It's a marketing ploy, right? Like, your body needs sunlight. So I'm not going to hang out too much on that because I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist here. So we're going to keep going. But I am going to leave that out there. And like I say, seeing the titanium dioxide reaction in the lab with my own eyes, I stopped wearing makeup. So that's how far I took this. Um, the second one is use clothing and shade as your friend. This is what I do. I wear a hat and I also take along lightweight clothes with me. And then and you can use your hair too, right? Like if you wear your hair, if you have long hair and you wear it up in a ponytail, just put it down when you're walking so that the sun's hitting the back of your neck and let your hair protect your neck from sunlight. Um, the same with taking along a bandana. You can wear it in the front when you're facing sunlight, wear it in the front to protect your neck and upper chest when you're facing sunlight, or just wear a high cut shirt. Um, again, lightweight clothing is your friend. You do not have to break the bank spending money on UPF rated clothing. That's another marketing ploy. Any clothing will protect you from sun exposure. Yes, there are varying degrees of clothes. Obviously, lightweight see-through or, see-through clothes won't offer as much protection as, something that's really thick. It doesn't really matter. It's still offering sun protection, so wear it. Okay, I'm gonna stop being I'm gonna stop being a mom here. Before I get off the soapbox entirely, the last one is practice moderation. And I mean, we're human, we hate that word, right? Like I hate that word. I just choose not to think of it as moderation, but this is something that is so important. Um, yeah, so we'll move on from there. Like I say, before you turn me off, let's just keep moving. Now, what happens when you get too much sun exposure? So how, if the inevitable happens, right? Like, we're all human, it's going to happen. Um, how do you support your skin post sun exposure? Well, there are a few ways to do this. So from the grocery store, cucumber, aloe, and we're going to talk about aloe specifically here. Rose petals, which, maybe not from your grocery store, but, from that specialty herb store. These are your biggest friends. I mean, it's possible to find a cucumber pretty much any grocery store you go into, right? So apply cucumbers to your skin post sun exposure. You can literally just cut the cucumber up and, sit inside and lay thin slices of cucumber all over your entire body. You can also blend up a whole cucumber in a blender with 1 or 2 cups of water and then slather that all over your body. Step into the shower, slather that all over your body, and just kind of like stand in the shower and chill for 5 to 10 minutes, listen to your favorite tunes or whatever before you turn that shower on. And this is also where like cooler showers are really helpful, right? Like we want to dissipate that heat. We want to take that heat out. So cooler showers are helpful during that. Water itself is helpful. This kind of goes over into the energetics of a sunburn, right? It's very hot. It's very pitta. It's very fiery. And so what we're looking for is things to balance that or things to counter that. And this would be cool water. This would be, um, things that bring moisture to the body. And so this is also where chia seeds, so whole chia seeds, if you stick those, in with a cup of water and just stir it up and give it a few minutes to fully hydrate and then slather those chia seeds all over your body. This is something else that feels incredible. When you choose to do this, just be aware that that can clog your drain. So that may be something that you kind of choose to do, late in the evening when you're outside, and then if you're able to um, rinse it off outside, like into your garden or, into a space outside where it's not going down a drain. Because, chia seeds definitely aren't going to hurt the dirt or the soil. They will clog up some pipes. Um, and then hibiscus petals is the other one. This is another one that it's usually pretty easy to find hibiscus petals, like dried hibiscus petals at most grocery stores, especially um, in the Hispanic food aisle or the Mexican um, grocery stores, it's pretty easy to, find those hibiscus petals. They make an excellent tea. This is a very cooling tea. I'm talking about, a tea that you drink. It's something that, you know, your body would also enjoy post sun exposure. The other thing that you're able to do with any of these. So I mentioned cucumber, rose petals, hibiscus, and aloe, which we'll circle back around to aloe here in a second. You can also make a tea with any of these, and you are welcome to make like a cold brew tea with any of these, or also, to make it hot brew and then allow it to cool down, before you put it on your skin. And that's especially if you do that with cucumber, that's a way to prevent staining. Because what you're able to do is then stick it in a spray bottle once it cools down and then spray your body on an as needed basis. So cucumber and rose petals are the best and aloe are the best for kind of avoiding that staining possibility. Hibiscus, on the other hand, hibiscus is when you brew up hibiscus tea, it is red. It's gonna stain pretty much anything. Um, for the aloe itself, so it I feel like aloe, the whole leaf aloe at most grocery stores is something that's pretty easy to find now. What you will want to do is kind of fillet it open, and you want to avoid the outer shell or the outer peel of the aloe, along with there's usually a really fine yellow layer just inside that you would want to avoid. So you want the pulp from the inside of the aloe leaf. And the best way to get that is, instead of like squeezing it down, is just to fillet it open and then pull that pulp layer out. And you can use it straight. You don't even have to, you can use it straight on your skin. You don't have to dilute that one. We already talked about take cooler showers, avoid the sun as much as possible for the day or up to 3 days after you overdid it. And this is really hard if it's like the first day of your vacation and you overdid it. Speaking from experience. Up your intake of antioxidant rich foods. Your skin receives nourishment from your body as well as topically. So just up your intake of vitamin C rich foods. This would be things like mangoes, any kind of colorful fruit and vegetable especially colorful fruit that's in season right now. Of course, vegetables also contain vitamin C. Um, in Yeah, and so they're beneficial as well, especially the more colorful like leafy greens and that kind of things. And also incorporate cooling foods, so like mint and cucumber. This is not an invitation to go drink mojitos because the problem with alcohol, this leads into another one, is avoid alcohol, because alcohol is very drying. It's very heating to the body, so this is opposite of what we're trying to do, which is cool the body down and cool the skin down. And then drink some tea, specifically green or white tea, which offer antioxidant benefits without the caffeine. Green and white tea would also make a very great, once it's cool, would make a great thing to put on your skin to kind of soothe that sunburn. The last thing I will mention about tea, because they are astringent, is that these other they are astringent and just like constrictive by nature, is that the green and the white tea is probably less beneficial than the other things that we've talked through on this list, because you are, wanting to help open and dilate blood vessels, and allow that heat to get out of your body. That's not to say that, green and white tea aren't helpful for this. It's just, remember to use those also in moderation. So, and then just rest assured that even if you get a sunburn, and yeah, there's all the talk about, oh, sun exposure related to skin cancer, yada, yada, yada. I've kind of covered that in a previous podcast episode that's linked in today's show notes, kind of debunking that theory. There's lots of science. There's lots of scientific literature, again, showing correlation, which correlation is not causation, of rising melanoma rates in relation to the use of sunscreen. So just keep that in mind too. Again, that's linked in today's episode. Like, this is more just to assure you that one sunburn does not skin cancer make. So anyways, that it's not an invitation to go get burned though, because um essentially what's happening when you're facing a sunburn is that your body is kind of utilizing all of its defenses in um, addressing that and using all of its using a ton of energy into addressing that because it is inflammation, it is cellular damage, it is things that your body has to move into and repair. And so for that reason, you're exhausting your antioxidant supplies from the rest of your body. And, then like your deeper seated organs, all your entire body needs all of these things. So when one thing like your skin is more demanding than the other organs of your body, then there's a problem. And this ultimately is why like sunburns are so detrimental to your entire body and why you feel, kind of crappy especially if you have a bad burn. Um, so anyways, it's because your body's using so much energy to try to repair that and so much resources trying to repair that. Um, so anyways, that wraps up today's episode. For extra support for sun-weary skin, Rain Organica offers Marine Layer Antioxidant Mist. And what this mist has is those cucumber and rose hydrosols along with aloe to help soothe sun-weary skin post sun exposure. And it also has vitamin C along with 3 skin beneficial peptides. And these are skin restorative peptides that promote recovery after sun exposure. These particular peptides have also been demonstrated to help protect skin from the effects of UV rays, like while you're in the sun. So they work in the same way along the same lines that antioxidants work, because that's what distinguishes an antioxidant from a sunscreen, is that sunscreens protect your skin, are supposed to protect your skin from UV rays, whereas antioxidants protect your skin from the effects of UV rays. And so that subtle difference between the two, the effects of UV rays on your skin and on your body, is generation of free radicals. So antioxidants help protect from the fallout of what free radicals do, whereas sunscreens are supposed to protect from the generation of free radicals anyways, by within your body, by having those free radicals generated on the surface of your skin, where you have if as long that's the thing, as long as the sunscreen is sitting on the surface of your skin and not absorbing into your skin, if it generates all the free radicals it wants, it's on the surface of your skin where you have dead skin layers anyways. So in theory, that's not a problem. So anyways, that wraps up today's episode. Next week on the podcast, I'm airing, what do I want to say here? Next week on the podcast, my conversation with Jess Williams at Feel More Gooder airs, and Jess we really talk about intuitive healing. We talk about how important it is to listen to your body and just be in tune with your body and let your body communicate with you. So we talk a ton about that, because I think that this is like such a critical piece of health and wellness, is forgetting all the science, forgetting all the logic, toss all that aside and really get connected with your body and listen to your body. And it doesn't matter what all the noise is about the best diet to be on and all of this kind of stuff, and the logic backing all of these diets. It's just, what does your body want? What does your body need? And being able to really listen to that and cue into that, and kind of operate from the heart. center instead of let your head guide everything. So anyways, so she joins me next week in that conversation. I'm pretty excited about this. I think it's a great one for the summer. I feel like it's a great conversation for the summer. So that's what's on the podcast next week. If you haven't already subscribed to Holistic Wellness, please go ahead and subscribe and take a quick second to share this episode with a friend. As always, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, bye.